Welcome to lesson 12 of acid bases and salts. In this lesson we are going to look at different type of salts such as acidic, basic, normal, double, mixed and complex salts, and we are going to see the uses of salts in daily life and industries. What are the type of salts that we have? We have acidic salts, we have basic salts, we have neutral salts, double salts, and there is one more type which is called complex salts. Let's look at what is normal salt. Normal or neutral salt is the one in which we have the reaction which is produced by the reaction between strong acid and strong base. So whenever a strong acid reacts with a strong base, you have the formation of neutral salt. What are the examples that we have? We have HCl and KOH. HCl is a strong acid and KOH is a strong base. So once both of them react, you have the formation of KCl. KCl in this case is the neutral or normal salt. This is another example in which H3PO4, which is phosphoric acid, is a strong acid reacting with NaOH, which is a strong base. So when you have the reaction between a strong acid and a strong base, you have the formation of a salt in this case, which is sodium phosphate, and sodium phosphate is a neutral or normal salt. If you want to look at what are strong acids and what strong bases, you have a different video that I have created for you, which is for strong acid and strong bases. You can look from there the list of strong acid and how to identify strong acids and how to identify strong bases. What is acidic salts? When you have a strong acid reacting with a weak base, you have the formation of acidic salt. Again, for this you should know what strong acid and weak bases are. Another definition of acidic salts says that when you have hydrogen ions left in unreacted. What do you mean by this? When you have a reaction between a strong acid and a weak base, some hydrogen ions remain unreacted, जो कि react नहीं कर पाते, and as a result those hydrogen ions appear in the salt. And when hydrogen ions appear in the salt is said to be acidic. What is the example of acidic salts? We have H2SO4 and KOH. Now in this case both the things are strong acid and strong base, but still you have hydrogen ions unreacted, so both the definitions apply. One definition says a very strong acid reacting with a weak base, another definition says when hydrogen ions remain unreacted in the salt. So in this case you can see hydrogen ion is present. Whenever you see hydrogen ion in a salt, always classify it as acidic salts. Another example that we have H3PO4 and NaOH. Now again both of them are strong acid and strong base, but still you have two hydrogen ions unreacted in the salt. So whenever you see a salt with hydrogen ions, always classify it as acidic salts. So this is one of the ways or one of the tricks you can identify an acidic salt, that acidic salt always has hydrogen ions. Basic salts. Basic salts again has two definitions, a weak acid and a strong base. When you have reaction between them, you have the formation of basic salt. Another definition is when you have OH ions remain unreacted in the salt. So acidic salts contain hydrogen ion, जैसे हमने पीछे पढ़ा acidic salts में hydrogen ion होता है, basic salts में क्या होता है, OH, which is the basic ion. Okay, OH negative ion, which is hydroxyl ion. अगर hydroxyl ion आपको salt में नजर आए, so that is basic salt. Examples: we have AlOH3, which is a base, but it is not a weak base. So again over here the reaction in between it is not a strong base, sorry. So this is a weak base. AlOH3 is a weak base, hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. But what is happening in this case is, how am I going to identify that this is a basic salt? Because I have OH ions here. तो जब भी हम सॉल्ट को आइडेंटिफाई करने का क्वेश्चन करेंगे तो हमेशा ये याद रखिएगा that whenever hydrogen ions are present you have acidic salt, whenever OH ions are present you have basic salt. Another example is the reaction between lead hydroxide and acetic acid. So you have OH ions again in the salt appearing. ये OH ions आपको नजर आ रहे हैं salt के अंदर. So whenever you see OH ions, it is a basic salt. This is another example. You have a salt of zinc hydroxide and HNO3, which is nitric acid. You have OH ions in the salt, so this is basic salt. Double salts. What are double salts? Double means two. Okay, when you have two or more salt solution mixed together and you crystallize them, you get a double salt. So what happens is, जब हम दो या दो से ज़्यादा salts को mix करके उनको crystallize कर देते हैं, evaporate करके जो salt मिलता है हमें, वो double salt होता है. What is the example? A very common salt which is called Mohr salt, which looks like this. It has a formula. Now they have very long formulas, so जब भी आपको लंबे लंबे formulas देखें like this one, and this is 6H2O, which is water of crystallization. Double salts always have water of crystallization, so the way you can identify double salts is water of crystallization. If you have water of crystallization like this, dot करके आगे कुछ water के molecules लगे हुए हैं, so identify it as double salt. Okay, so this is the formula of Mohr salt, which can be asked in the MCQs. And potash alum, which is very common, it is called फिटकरी in Urdu. और इसको हम किस लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं? एंटी माइक्रोबियल एक्शन के लिए इस्तेमाल करते हैं, जहाँ पे हमें कट्स हो जाएं या फिर हमें कहीं पर जो है इन्फेक्शन हो जाए, तो अगर हम वहाँ पे पोटैश एलम लगाएं, दैन इट इज़ एंड इट हैड एंटी माइक्रोबियल एक्टिविटीज़. द फार्मूला इज K2SO4.Al2SO4 3.24H2O. सो अगेन यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई पोटैश एलम एंड डबल सॉल्ट्स बाय the water of crystallization. So you have 224H2 over here. So this is again two salts. Now you have K2SO4, which is one salt, Al2SO4 3, which is another salt. दोनों को mix किया और crystallize कर दिया, so you get potash alum. Complex salts क्या होते हैं? Complex salts are the salts in which you have complex ions. Now what are complex ions? Complex ions are formed by metal and metal surrounded by different molecules. Okay, एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं इसकी. सो डबल सॉल्ट्स को कॉम्प्लेक्स सॉल्ट को आइडेंटिफाई करने का बहुत आसान तरीका है दैट अ कॉम्प्लेक्स सॉल्ट हैज़ अ स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट. ओके, जब भी आपको स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट नज़र आए तो आप समझ जाएंगे दैट इज़ इट्स कॉम्प्लेक्स सॉल्ट. ओके, नाउ व्हाट इज़ द कॉम्प्लेक्स आयन? हमें अभी हमने पीछे डेफिनेशन में पढ़ा that they are made up of complex ions. So anything which is inside this square bracket is the complex ion. Okay, you can see this metal. This metal is surrounded by 6Cn, which is cyanide molecule. If Fe is surrounded by 6 cyanide molecules, then it is a complex salt. Okay, and you can see this square bracket. So square bracket का मतलब क्या होता है? That is a complex salt. Okay, and square bracket जहाँ भी लगा हुआ है उसका मतलब वो complex ion है. Example you see is potassium ferrocyanide. Again, potassium ferrocyanide looks like this one, and and the identification of complex ion is the easiest one. Summary. Let's look at the summary of what we have learned today. We have learned that the strong acid and strong base react, they form neutral salt. When we have a strong acid and a weak base reacting, they make acidic salts. When we have weak acid and strong base, they make basic salts. And when you have two or more salts solution mixed together, they make double salts. And complex salts क्या होते हैं? Then whenever you have a complex ion को कैसे identify करते हैं? Square bracket से. Okay, let's look at an example. हमें आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि ये जो सॉल्ट है K2SO4, ये कौन सा सॉल्ट है. ओके, क्वेश्चन आ सकता है K2SO4 इज अ सॉल्ट. व्हाट टाइप ऑफ सॉल्ट इज इट? यू हैव टू identify the salt. Okay, the type of the salt. So K2SO4, as we know, is a salt, and it is made up of two things: the cation. In this case, the cation is potassium ion, and sulfate ion is the anion. Okay, so सबसे पहले हम क्या करेंगे? cation को और anion को अलग अलग कर लेंगे. Cation is the positive ion, जो सबसे पहले लिखा होता है, that is cation, and the other thing is anion. Now we know that the cation, which is K positive, has come from a strong base. So K कौन सी बेस में प्रेजेंट होता है? KOH में. और KOH कैसी बेस है? इट इज़ अ स्ट्रॉन्ग बेस. ओके, इस तरीके से सल्फेट कौन से हमें एसिड से मिलता है? बिकॉज एनाइंस हमेशा हमें एसिड से मिलते हैं, तो सल्फेट आयन कौन से एसिड से मिलता है? सल्फेट आयन वेरी कॉमन एसिड विच इज़ H2SO4, उससे मिलता है. ओके, H2SO4 इज़ अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एसिड, एंड वेन एवर यू हैव अ रिएक्शन बिटवीन अ स्ट्रॉन्ग बेस एंड अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एसिड, यू हैव द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ विच टाइप ऑफ सॉल्ट? You have the formation of neutral salt. Let's look at another example. We have another salt, NH4Cl. Now again divide them into their cations. Now we divide NH4Cl into its cation and the anion. The cation in this case is NH4 plus, and the anion in this case is Cl minus. Okay, so हमें पता है NH4+ कौन सी बेस से हमें मिलता है हमें NH4OH से। NH4OH कैसी बेस है? इट इज़ अ वीक बेस। और Cl हमें कौन से एसिड से मिलता है? बिकॉज एनाइन पार्ट कम्स फ्रॉम द एसिड, सो Cl हमें कौन से एसिड से मिलता है? Cl हमें मिलता है HCl से। ओके, HCl इज़ अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एसिड. Now when you have a reaction between a weak base and a strong acid, you have the formation of what type of salt? You have the formation of acidic salts. Okay, so that's all. You can identify the salt and its type by yourself now with the given definitions, with the given tricks in the video. You can identify. You will be given questions to identify the type of the salts. Now very briefly look at the uses of the salts. So these are the salts that you have to learn by yourself, and they may be asked as ERQs or CRQs. If you have any problem regarding this whole video or the lecture, you can ask me in the comment box. Meet you in the next lesson. Till then, thank you. Allah Hafiz.